Hey guys, Grumpy here with another episode of Fast 5. So in the previous episode, we pushed the experimental apogee to its absolute limit. It was a ton of fun. If you haven't watched that episode, go ahead, pause this, watch that now, and then come back. We also ended the previous episode on the hunt for the technology cache, so we'll go ahead and secure that today. But other than that, let's go ahead and jump into the episode. So, beginning the episode, Summer Olympus is currently level 8. Um, the last two perks we picked up were Combat Endurance to offset safety overrides, and then Target Analysis to increase the damage that the Brawler does. Looking at the fleet, it is the Brawler, Apogee, Venture, Brilliant, and Monitor. Some very familiar faces at this point. Going into the Apogee, I made one change. I added ECCM package to the Apogee, and that was to make the squall more effective. I noticed that a lot of shots were missing, so now they should strike true. In order to make this work though, I had to get rid of swarmers and capacitors and vents, so we'll see how that affects us in combat. With the Venture, I swapped out some of the harpoons with sabos just because I noticed that the Venture was ending combat with too many harpoons. So maybe if it has different missile systems, it can use both. And then looking at the Brilliant, I'm still not sure how I want to design this. I added sabos to it and hypervelocity drivers. Um, I kind of want it to be long range kinetic support, so that's why that's there. And then the high intensity laser and the ion beam is just because they have long ranges. The Brilliant will also be able to provide additional damage at a distance. One improvement I want to make is when we go fetch the Alpha Core, I'll swap out the core of the Brilliant so that we can get a more effective commander in there. And then finally, no changes to the monitor. It's perfect as it is. So before we head out to grab that Alpha Core, I decided to head to Port Say. I checked the bar out, and I find a patron that's willing to sell an Aurora for 100,000 credits. I snapped by the Aurora. It is worth, in my opinion, 500,000 credits, maybe even more. It is such a good ship. One of my all-time favorites. It's fast, it's maneuverable, and it just does a ton of damage. I'm going to be building it in an Alpha Strike capacity. So this is what you would find on my ship design Discord. It begins with adding Reapers to the front of it. So I filled the small synergy slots with Reapers. And then in the medium synergy slots, I go ahead and fill those with Sabopods. Um, on the medium turrets, I add one Ion Pulsar and a Heavy Blaster. Sometimes I do two Ion Pulsars or two Heavy Blasters, it just depends what I need. Then in the smalls at the front, I go ahead and add two Antimatter Blasters, and that's the design. After that, I go with safety overrides because this is for alpha striking, and then I add hardened shields and shield conversion front. Hardened shields because it just makes the already great shield on the Aurora that much better, and then shield conversion front to cut the shield flux per second cost in half. And yeah, that's the Apogee. Go ahead, give it a try. Again, that's going to be in my Discord under shipbuilding. So I kind of get distracted on my way to the Alpha Core. I come across a Syndrian convoy carrying machinery, supplies, heavy armaments. But this is a rather tough fleet. They do have a Griffin, a Eagle, um, a Harbinger, which is a real killer, and one other ship. Oh, and the Falcon. So the reason the Harbinger is such a killer is because it has system or quantum disruption, which basically overrides your ship for a second. And going against the monitor, if you override, if you overload the monitor, then essentially the monitor is dead. The monitor itself is made out of tissue paper, so you have to keep the Harbinger away from the monitor at all costs. So beginning the battle, I try to partition the fleet a little. I grab the attention of the Venture, and the Harbinger begins to wander off, so I just keep an eye on it. I use my sabos here defensively. I just want to keep the Griffin flux up and busy, just focused on me, while the rest of my fleet moves into position. The Aurora has the eliminate command on the Falcon. Normally I don't like to give eliminate commands, but because the Aurora is so fast, I'm comfortable with it, you know, alpha striking a target even while the battlefield is so congested at the moment. I go ahead and waste the Griffin's time, and I try to bring it closer to the Brilliant and the Venture here. I give the eliminate order to the Venture, not because I want the Venture to kill the Griffin, but I just want it to grab the Griffin's attention. If I can distract the Griffin for even a moment, then I'm pretty sure I can flank it and eliminate it very quickly. So I noticed that the Griffin is kind of turned away. I use this opportunity to push. This is not really where I want to be, but I noticed that there's an opportunity to take down this Harbinger. So I go ahead and refocus, and I want to take down the Harbinger first. The Venture is still slowly moving towards the Griffin. I retarget the Aurora because it already killed the Falcon. Anyway, I pivot back towards the Harbinger. If I can get off the battlefield, that means I can call the monitor closer if I need it. So really nice there. And I noticed that the Griffin is at about half flux. So what I do is I lower my flux completely, let the sabos just drift away, and then we move in fresh. I wait for the sabos from the Venture to connect. We get a nice overload, and I move in. I back off because I see the harpoons coming in, but really nice there. And it just goes to show off why you should consider, or why you should keep a close eye on what your ships are doing in combat. If the Venture had all harpoons in that scenario, I probably wouldn't have used them against the Griffin until the Griffin was overloaded, and at that point I could have killed the Griffin myself. So definitely choosing to swap the sabos out on that Venture was the right call. At this point, the enemy fleet is pretty much picked apart, with the Griffin off the battlefield and the Harbinger off the battlefield. It's just frigate cleanup. The Aurora, we get to see the Aurora close up, just absolutely devastating ship. Can easily overwhelm an opponent, and just with those, between the Reapers and the antimatter blasters, just tons of burst damage. We get very lucky here. I kind of talked over it, but we get very lucky with a rare second engagement. So I'm not exactly sure what triggers this, but instead of moving to the pursuit phase, we get lucky here, and we get an opportunity to engage the enemy fleet as if it were a fresh battle. What this means is all the freighters, so all the civilian ships that carry, you know, fuel, supplies, all that, they join the battle. I'm gonna dig into how to get this to happen more reliably, because it's really nice when it does happen. But as you see, like all the Atlases, the Tarduses, and the Buffaloes come to join the fight. And if we can eliminate everything here, we don't have to go to a pursuit phase, which is really nice. Sometimes this is a lot better than a pursuit phase because the ships have to manually turn around, and there's not enough room to maneuver in most cases. So you can get lucky here and take out more ships than you otherwise would in the pursuit phase. And then just like the regular pursuit phase, you want to aim for engines. It's all about disabling enemy ships. go ahead and take down an Atlas, and then all that remains is Buffalo. Now there will still be ship holes, so there is still a pursuit phase at the end of all of this. But just having a second battle phase means that you can get rid of most of the cargo ships without much trouble. So we clear out the pursuit phase, fighting a bunch of ship holes. Nothing too exciting here. A lot easier than it normally would be, again, because there's less ships on the battlefield, and all the ships are moving very slow. We go to consider ship recovery, and we do get an Eagle. And unfortunately, sitting in difficult recovery is that Harbinger. I would love to have a Harbinger in my fleet, but unfortunately, I can't justify it with that story point cost. And anyway, we go ahead and pick through the wreckage, and we are well rewarded for our bravery. We get 1,600 supplies, 600 heavy machinery, and 450 heavy armaments. I can't wait to find a home for all these materials. This is going to make us a very, very rich fleet commander. So after selling off those supplies, we end up with about 1.2 million credits. I end up heading towards the technology cache to go secure it. The technology cache is defended by 2 Fulgents, 3 Glimmers, and a Lumen. Not a particularly difficult fight. Well, with the fleet that we have, really, and not really a particularly difficult fight overall. The Glimmers and Lumens are annoying, but you can overload them with a burst from your Sabo missiles, um, or Needlers, or Railguns even. It, the, of course, the Railguns and the Needlers just take longer to get there, but it is definitely doable. Man, the the amount of missiles coming off that venture is just incredible. The Aurora decides to get personal with the Fulgence. Of course, using its Reapers and its Sabos to very quickly overload a target. We go ahead and consider ship recovery. Another Fulgent would be really nice to have, but it costs a story point. We already have one, so I can't really justify paying for it. Anyway, when it comes to making this decision, we decided to take the AI core for ourselves, of course. What you could do is you can secure the Alpha core and turn it in. You get, I think, about 300,000 credits for that. You also get some nice goodies, so we get high-tech blueprint, which is really going to be good if we decide to settle a colony. And then we get a bunch of really nice blueprints in the form of the Cyclone Reapers and the Merv. So with the Alpha Core secured, we decided to head back to Myasora, and that's where we're going to conclude today's episode. So, to conclude today's episode, Summer Olympus is currently level 9. We picked up Ballistic Mastery, which is just going to help us do more damage. Um, and again, we're still chasing Missile Specialization, which is going to add more Sabos to the Brawler. Here's the fleet as it stands. Brawler, Monitor, we replaced the Apogee with the Aurora. And then we added the Alpha Core to the Brilliant. So built-in expanded missile racks, built-in hardened shields on the Monitor. I'm still deciding what I should build in on the Monitor. Don't really want to commit quite yet. I picked up systems expertise for the officer and the Monitor. That's going to add, when we make it the elite version, an additional 30 seconds of peak performance time, just again to offset safety overrides.
So not really useful now, but eventually it will be when we get into longer battles. I decided to build in hardened shields as well. I'm just going to fully commit to the Aurora. It is a phenomenal ship. It's definitely worth its weight in gold. So, very nice there. Here's the Brilliance. I'm still deciding how I want to build it. I'm not too sure yet. Right now it has advanced optics and integrated targeting unit. That's just to maximize its range. I really want this to be a long range support ship, whereas the rest of my ships are kind of like DPS, just like CQC ships. The Brilliant can shine at a distance. One change that I do make is I swap out missile specialization because it's not really necessary on the Brilliant. Um, we have plenty of missiles in the Venture and the Aurora, and I decided to go for Ballistic Mastery. Ballistic Mastery is going to extend the range of the Hyper Velocity Driver and the Heavy Needler. Again, just lending that support at a distance. And moving forward, now that we have an Alpha Core in the Brilliant, we can take on some much harder fights. Again, this series is all about increasing the combat capability of our fleet, and the only way to do that is to fight bigger fleets. Hope you guys enjoy that episode. Other than that, Grumpy out.